Hey YouTubers, I am back with a little bit more equipment talk and another album review. On the equipment front, I continue shopping for something to replace my Yamaha setup that I talked about in the last video. I think I've talked myself into getting a new preamp and power amp, and actually I know I've got a new preamp and I know I've got a new power amp. I haven't settled on keeping those things. I know it sounds insane, but anyway, so I mentioned last time that I had bought a preamp on eBay. I have, and I've received it, but I haven't put it in the system yet. The preamp that I have is a Class A 4L, which I think is from the early 90s. It's supposed to be a really nice preamp. I got it for what I consider to be a very reasonable amount. As you probably know, if you subscribe to my channel, I buy a lot of stuff used, whether it's camera gear, stereo gear, whatever it is. I buy a lot of stuff used. Anyway, this thing is in perfect shape. I'll end up showing it if I end up keeping it. It's in perfect shape, looks great. Why haven't I put it in my system? Well, because I happened to stop by my local audio dealer, who happens to be right up the street from my new job. And he sent me home with a used Balanced Audio Technology VK3 tube preamp, and it is in the system right there. I just couldn't resist it. Now, I didn't buy it. He's letting me audition it. So it's funny, it's not the one I own, but it's the one I put in the system first. The Class A is out of the box, sitting in the office in there, but the bat is set up and in the system. Sounds pretty good. I have kind of a crazy setup here. I'm using my Yamaha as my phono preamp, so I'm sending the record outs from my phono in to the bat, and then the bat is sending its output back into the Yamaha, and I'm using the Yamaha as a power amp. So I decoupled the preamp and power amp on the Yamaha, and I'm using both sides in kind of a weird way. Anyway, if I keep either of these new preamps, either the BAT or the Class A, neither of them have a phono preamp, so I got to buy a phono preamp too. I'm not going to use the Yamaha as a phono preamp. You can see how giant it is. That would be just a little insane. Anyway, so that's what's going on. The BAT sounds really good. I guess I would describe the sound as big. I think the sound staging is a little different than the Yamaha integrated amp. It seems a little taller. I was listening to a record that I won't be talking about today, but it's called Peacock, and it's by Ralph Towner, Eddie Gomez, and Jack DeJohnette. Anyway, there's a tune on there that's got a lot of Jack DeJohnette cymbal work, and they're all over the place. And I was digging it. So anyway, this thing sounds good. I got to plug the Class A in, see how it strikes me, make a choice between the two. I already own the Class A. If I like it, I'm good. If I have to have the BAT, I got to spend a bunch of money. So the other piece of news on that front is I just won an auction on eBay for a power amp. And you guys hear me say this a lot. Something I always wanted. It's a Conrad Johnson power amp, and it's Conrad Johnson tube power amp. It's from the lower end of their line. It's used. It's from about 1992, probably 93. It's an MV55, and I guess it'll be in here in 5 days or so. We'll have to see how that sounds. I liked the Prologue 4 that I was using for a while, just couldn't commit to it. I thought I'd totally roll the dice and get the Conrad Johnson. They have a great reputation in the industry, and we'll see how that sounds. And how it pairs with the Class A and this BAT, if I can borrow the BAT again. Alright, so on to music. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite jazz artists, Keith Jarrett. The album is Yesterdays. It's got Jack DeJohnette and Gary Peacock, right? Yes, Gary Peacock. This is Jarrett's trio that he's had for a very long time, and a lot of their concerts have been recorded. They do basically jazz standards, and they've been doing it for a long time. So this is, I think this is from 92, Why don't I ever look at the record before I do the video? It's not from '92, it's from 2009. Anyway, this is a double album. It's a concert recording. The recording is fabulous. It sounds great. It sounds really big. It is very forward, which I don't really love with jazz, but it sounds so good I don't mind it too much. By forward I mean, it's, for one thing, it's got the giant drum kit syndrome. DeJohnette's hi-hat is over here, ride cymbals in the far left speaker. That makes the drum kit really big, bigger than real life, and I don't dig that. But the sound of it, I just love the sound of it. So, good sounding album. The second disc, the first side of the second disc, it just is uneven in my opinion. I need to listen to it more. But the first disc is awesome all the way through, especially the first side of the first disc. So if you are interested in listening to a really good and large sounding recording of traditional jazz, a very traditional three-piece setup, give this album a shot. I haven't heard the CD. I assume it sounds good too. It's on ECM, and ECM almost always produces really good sounding stuff. I think you should give this a listen. I will talk to you later.